You are walking past an inconspicuous copse as Nomura suddenly stops on the spot.
Wait! We are not alone. Someone is watching us.
A trap?
Die, scum!
What are you doing? Why are you attacking us? We're dwarves too, we're on the same side!
I see honest dwarves here, but they are accompanied by scum. I will free you of it!
Oh, really? And what are you going to do on your own against 8?
You, come here.
What?
Brother! What are you doing?
Boindle, what's wrong? Come to your senses!
It's no use. They belong to me. Now die, scum.
Yes, sold!
At once.
Patience, I'll be ready soon.
Just a minute. Too many enemies.
But I am all right then. Quick.
Understood.
Friends!
Yes.
I could use some help!
No sooner does the unknown dwarf fall unconscious to the floor than her control over your comrades disappears. You fetter and gag her until you know more about her sinister powers.
That was, I hope I didn't hurt you, Scholar. It was as if in a dream, but at the same time, it wasn't. I heard her voice in my head, and although I knew better, I only saw orcs attacking me. You were the enemy.
Boindle goes over to the shackled dwarf and kicks her gently with his boot.
This is never a child of the smith, even if she looks like one. Those gifts. By Fracas, there is something evil at work.
You kneel in front of the dwarf and press your axe against her throat.
My name is Tungdil. If I remove your gag, will you answer some questions?
The captive nods, and you pull the gag out of her mouth.
Geralda is my name. It would seem I underestimated you.
Your powers, I've never heard of anything like it.
Neither have I. I haven't had them for long. When I try to remember, all I see is black mist, and I taste iron and mud, and there's an elf who...
Did the Alpha give you these powers?
When I try to remember, it hurts, like needles sticking into my head. I am Geralda Bloodstone. I was...
You said something about scum when you attacked us. Has Nomura done anything to harm you?
Not her, but her kind. Alpha.
She is a human. She only acts at being an elf in theatre.
In the theatre?
For the first time, Geralda looks at Nomura without a hateful expression.
She must die.
Where have you come from and what brings you to Wayan?
I was on my way to the Free Folk. They are said to live in the middle of Girdlegard, without kingdoms or their laws.
The Free Folk? You mean dwarves?
Yes, dwarfs who have left their kingdoms, voluntarily or otherwise. Not everyone has a place in their kingdom.
You instinctively think of your own plight. You are not a secondling, and won't be welcome among the fourthlings since you placed obstacles in their king's path.
Don't believe this nonsense, Scholar. The free folk are just a fairy tale that people tell themselves when they don't want to stick to the traditions. Just look what good it's done Geralda.
Geralda prepares to reply, but then she holds back.
Enough talk! She is dangerous, probably crazy. She attacked us, we should put an end to her.
It's what you call amnesia, memory loss, a tool often used in stage productions. We don't know what happened to her, and maybe she doesn't either. We can't just kill her.
She's too dangerous just to let go, so we'll take her with us. Remove the fetters.
You nip any objection in the bud and turn to Geralda.
Listen, I don't know what has happened to you, but we are dwarves and we shouldn't fight against one another. We could do with your help.
The female dwarf seems just as surprised by your decision as your companions.
Thank you. I would be happy to accompany you. I am Geralda Bloodstone, of the Fourthling Kingdom. I'm sorry that I attacked you. It was a misunderstanding.
You realize that your decision doesn't please everyone. Boindil and Namora seem particularly upset. But they hold back, and you continue on your way, a slightly gloomy mood hanging over the group. When you enter the pretty little village with its richly ornate houses and its temple to Palandil at its centre, you can see an angry mob some distance away. The villagers are hassling a young woman, insulting her and pushing her to the ground. You push your way through the crowd of people and stand in the way of the villagers.
What's going on here?
A man dressed in richly decorated vestments looks you up and down.
Palandil be with you, dwarf. It is none of your business, but this woman here is a thief. She and her henchmen have emptied the monastery's granary and were willing to abandon us to our fate.
That's a lie. We asked for help and these people turned us away. I came back to ask again.
What evidence do you have against this woman?
We found the granary broken into. Almost a third of our grain and a significant amount of supplies have gone. And all this just one day after she and her people were snooping around here.
That isn't proof. It could simply be coincidence. Anyway, why would a thief come back to the scene of a crime?
The priest eyes you in silence, while some of the villagers make it clear that dwarves should keep their noses out of their business.
Tell us what happened.
The villagers grumble, but the priest gives the woman a chance to defend herself.
My name is Tavia. I was forced to flee Tabayin with my family when the perished land began to spread. My husband, we had to leave him behind.
The horror in the woman's eyes gives you a good idea as to what became of her husband.
No one accepted us in the north. There are too many refugees and everyone is scared. Queen Wei has offered land in Wayan to anyone who will work hard for it. But what should we grow if no one will sell us grain? We offered a fair price, but Father Mallan...
She darts a scathing gaze at the priest.
He wanted double the amount.
The priest glances briefly at the angry villagers. Then he replies in a firm voice.
It was a hard winter. And with the increasing frequency of orc attacks, we must think of ourselves first and foremost. Even we cannot help everyone.
The bystanders mutter in agreement.
The accusations are serious, so let's get to the bottom of the matter to be completely sure.
We have no doubt that she did it.
The priest looks at the villagers standing around him, the lust for blood written in their faces.
On the other hand, before we do something we can't undo.
Dissatisfied murmuring grows, which the priest debates with mollifying gestures.
Search for your evidence. You there, lock this woman up in the guardhouse in the meantime.
The woman is taken into a squat building made of rough blocks of stone. The crowd slowly disbands. The priest is lost in thoughts, standing in front of the temple, as if he couldn't decide whether to go in or not.
I was wondering, what was here first, the temple or the village?
Ah, a keen eye. The temple is indeed much too big for such a small village. It was built on the foundations of an old stronghold when salt was found nearby. The village has grown over the years in the shadow of the temple. Good people live here, honest and pious children of Pilandil.
He glances at the place where the woman was surrounded.
Why can't we just be left in peace?
Supposing Tavia really did steal the grain and supplies, but only to save her family, would you turn a blind eye?
Pilandil teaches generosity, but that too must have its boundaries. We cannot help everyone. At some point there won't be enough for us.
So, if you had sold the grain, the people of Seaton would have starved?
Maybe not. Not yet. But if we always give everything we have away...
No one is saying always, and no one is saying everything.
The priest shrugs his shoulders apologetically. He doesn't wish to spoil things with his flock. You nod goodbye, and the priest returns the gesture. You enter the village's large storehouse. The ground floor of the two-story building is full of turnips, with large barrels and clay pots on the floor and on high shelves. Several villagers are carrying out stock-taking. They're being supervised by a weedy man who observes them with a grim expression and writes things on a wax tablet every now and then. There are sacks piled up on top of one another on the first floor. They are most likely filled with different kinds of grain and, judging by the omnipresent white dust, flour. You walk towards the only area in the storeroom where you can see the floorboards. You hesitate as your boots slip on the floor, as if you're walking on mud.
Tungdil?
The Magister Technicus carefully observes the roof beams above the empty corner. He grabs at a beam and crumbles something between his fingers. You can't make out what it is, so you copy him and feel damp, rotten wood. It's very easy to pull away small pieces.
What are you doing here?
The man with the wax tablet is standing on the stairs. He sounds half angry, half shocked.
No one is allowed in here.
The rain has gotten here. The roof and the floor are damp.
Those savages! It wasn't enough that they steal from us, they had to damage the roof too! That was probably where they got in.
The wood didn't start to rot yesterday, good man.
The steward's face turns bright red.
And you are the experts on such things, are you?
Assuming the roof here has been leaky for a long time, what would have happened to the grain in the sacks directly underneath? Wouldn't it have turned rotten?
The man wets his lips. His gaze darts around the room.
The roof was fine. I'll have it repaired. And now, get out of here!
The steward angrily blocks off all further attempts at talking to him, and even when you threaten him with Father Malin, it doesn't have the desired effect. The father trusts in him, he says, and he's always been a devout follower. The heavy door of the storehouse closes behind you, and you hear a bolt sliding into place from the inside. You enter the guardhouse, and before the guards know, Boindil and Boendal have caught them up in a friendly conversation. Shielded from the view of the guards, you exchange a few words with the suspect without being disturbed.
Where have you taken the grain and supplies?
I don't know anything about grain or supplies. Apart from the fact that we could do with both, I'm telling you, I am innocent!
Why did you come back to the village?
I wanted to negotiate with Father Malin for the grain. What else could I do? No sooner had I arrived than they surrounded me and accused me of robbery.
We won't let anyone do anything to you, but if we are going to help you, you will have to tell us the truth.
The woman looks you in the face, then her head sinks, and when she looks back up, she has tears in her eyes.
Please, I just want to go back to my family. I don't know what happened.
Tungdil.
You feel sympathy towards the woman. You raise your hand to silence Rodario and nod to the woman to continue talking.
We asked for grain and were full of hope when we saw the well-filled granary. But we hadn't reckoned on the malice of the people here.
A slow, ironic clap sounds from behind you. Confused, you turn around to face Rodario.
Bravo, my dear, with tears and everything. Tough luck that a master of the art of acting is present. None of what she said corresponds with the truth, Tungdil. She is lying and trying to deceive us. Not completely talentless for an amateur.
You expect the woman to deny everything, but when she overcomes her amazement, she spits in the actor's face.
And what if I am? I would do it all again. The people here have more than they need and my people are starving. Is that fair?
Spit it out. Where are the spoils and your people?
I'd rather die than tell you that.
The woman looks at you determinedly, and neither of you blink.
Why did you come back here after stealing the grain and supplies?
We didn't steal 'em. We paid for 'em. A reasonable price, just not to Father Malin.
You had help.
He promised us 3 dozen sacks of grain. When we opened the sacks in our hideout, we realised that most of the grain was rotten. He thought he'd get away with it.
The woman looks around wearily.
And by the looks of things, he has.
Morris the steward offered you the grain, didn't he?
What does that matter? I've no proof it was him. And even if I did, if I admit that we have the stuff, I'll be hanging from a tree by this evening and my children will starve. I beg you, let me go. We bought the grain and the supplies. Perhaps he wasn't allowed to sell it to us. But we paid. And with a little seed we can sow, at least some of us have a chance of surviving the year.
I don't want you to be hanged just because you tried to support your family. Go.
You open the door. The guards jump up, take up their swords, and let their hands sink down again when they feel the axes of the dwarves against their throats. The woman lays a hand on your shoulder for a moment as a sign of gratitude, before she runs from the guardhouse.
I hope you know what you're doing, Scholar.
Rodario's furrowed brow does not give you the feeling you've made an undisputed decision.
Nomura, find out where she's heading and then rejoin us.
Fergus wants to raise an objection, but before he can think of the right words, Nomura has kissed him on the mouth and has disappeared round the next corner. You leave the guardhouse and explain your plan to Father Malin. You expect him to object, but he seems to be satisfied. You assume he'll make you responsible for everything if something goes wrong, and will claim a piece for himself if you are successful. Like every night in the wilderness, you set up camp and assign the watch. Bavragor takes first watch this evening, while the rest of you sit by a small fire, toasting some bread. You're not particularly surprised that neither Bavragor nor any of the others notice the guest who suddenly appears out of the darkness next to you.
Nomura!
Fergus jumps up, and moments later has embraced her tightly.
Were you able to find out anything?
She didn't detect me and led me straight to the hideout. I can show you. It's a cave some miles off from the path. Almost 4 dozen people, men, women and children.
You nod. You have tracked down Tavia's hideout. You spend the night protected from the wind in a ruin, and are sitting around a campfire as the topic of your new companion's performance on the stage comes up.
Sleight of hand, speed, alchemy, and makeup can have an incredible effect. Nomura transformed herself into an elf using the latter.
I also noticed your weapons, Nomura. I've never seen such swords before.
Their names are Crescent and Sunbeam. I designed them myself. It took a long time until I found a smith who was able to make them.
She looks like a pointy ear too. Nature hasn't been kind to her.
For this absent-minded remark, Boindil receives evil looks from Nomura and grins from the men.
Perhaps I really am an elf, and will bring you a nightmare in your sleep tonight. Don't be surprised if you wake up screaming.
For a moment, it seems as though she has merged with the darkness, but when you blink, everything is back to normal.
By the gods! Isn't she magnificent in her role?
There is no denying what Rodario says. The group isn't overly friendly towards Geralda, and this evening she's sitting once again apart from the others. You ask yourself what you can do to break the ice when you see that she has a file in her hand. The file is wrapped around with silver wire and has a snap lock. The liquid in it is black. Geralda opens the lid and takes a big swig. As she puts down the bottle, a smile flits across her face, followed by a short expression of deep satisfaction. It is the first time that you have seen a positive emotion on the face of the somber dwarf.
Is that medicine?
No, it's... I don't know either. If I don't drink it, I have a longing for it. It gets stronger and stronger until I can't stand it anymore. When I drink it, the longing disappears, and I feel rested and strong.
And when the file's empty?
I don't know. I don't know where I got the drink from, let alone what it is. But if I don't drink it, frackers, give me strength. I think I would go crazy or die.
Geralda plays with the file, lost in her thoughts, as if she were trying to remember where she saw it for the first time. You discover some ancient ruins and an orc camp in a gorge. A small group of Bognalim is moving between tents, piles of rubbish and cages. In one of the cages, you think you can make out some movement.
They're coming out the holes.
You there, my bag! Over there! Quick! You'll have to smoke them out!
Grenades! Throw them into the holes. That ought to stop the little beasts. On my way. Understood. On my way. Kill! At once. And again. Vile creature.
Too easy!
And again.
What is it?
Vile. What is it? And again. Vile creature. And again. Kill. On my way. What's up?
We're not! Disgusting. Who's next?
Let's go.
And what now?
Very impressive, I must say. Let me out, my friends. Oh, thank you. Have you seen Helga? Helga? Helga! Where are you?
Hello? I am Tungdil Goldhand. These are my companions, Boindil, Boendal, Rodario, Fergus and Namora, Bavragor and Goimgar.
Have you seen Helga?
No, we haven't. If you don't mind me asking, what is your name?
Call me Ensign and drop the pleasantries.
If I may, who is this Helga?
Helga? Where?
I don't know. I just wanted to know.
Helga is my wife. Didn't I mention that? We came here together, but then the orcs came and she was gone. Do you think she might have gone home? Helga!
You have a dark notion of what might have happened to Helga, but as you have no proof, you'd rather say nothing.
If you see her, you let me know, right?
What brings you to these parts, Henson? It's not exactly the nicest of places.
Aren't you here for the festival? The unbelievable Wackenstein Festival. My wife and I desperately wanted to see it for ourselves. The blind guardian, the statue over there, is the key. It calls people from far and wide to the festival. I finally found some information in the archives of Virunciensis as to how the guardian is activated.
So what have you found out about the festival, Henson?
You see that statue? That's the blind guardian. You could call him the patron saint of Wackenstein. They say that when the festival begins, then the revellers heed his call from all corners of the earth. According to my research, we need 3 things to start the festival. A burning ox skull, the fire-eater bell, and vervain. I actually had it all, but, then the orcs came.
Where will we find the Fire Eater Bell, and what kind of a name is that anyway?
Virunciensis. I tracked you down to a collector who lives outside the city in an estate on the south wall. According to the legend, the bell was mounted in a black tower. The tower caught fire. The bell fell down and smothered the source of the fire. Now, I'm sure you can work out the rest. The ringing of the bell opens the way for the blazing fire in our souls. At least that's what is written.
Virunciensis. So what are we waiting for? We'll visit the collector and...
It would be best if you went without me. I have some things to prepare here.
See you later, Henson.
Let me know if you see Helga.
A pile of wood? Or is it actually a pyre? Dried herbs. Henson, do you have a minute?
Have you found Helga?
Do you know anything about a secret passage through the mountains?
Secret passage? No, can't say I do. But they say that when the blind guardian awakens, then people will come to the festival from all corners of the world. Maybe they'll come from the mountains too.
To begin the festival, we need the ox skull, the fire eater bell, and the vervain, right?
Exactly. Then we need to set the skull on fire, ring the bell, and burn the herbs. And then it happens.
You're quite sure you're wasting your time? A huge festival in the middle of nowhere? But you pin your hopes on there being a spark of truth in every story, and that somehow a path will open up through the mountains when you carry out the old ritual.
I wanted to thank you. Your grenades really helped us.
Grenades? Oh, yeah, no problem. I used them to break up boulders, but I ended up attracting these pests. Who was to know there are Bognolum around here? And as if that weren't bad enough, along came the orcs and took my ox skull. Gosh! And Helga, where is Helga?
See you later, Henson.
Let me know if you see Helga.
As on the previous evening, Bavragor sits apart from the others. But tonight, he waves you over.
Smeralda, my sister. You want to know what happened, right?
You nod and sit down.
She followed Boindle into battle. We tried to talk her out of it, but she was as unyielding as a mountain. Then came the day when the High Pass was attacked.
Bavragor drinks from his liquor.
He killed her. Blinded by the frenzy of battle, he thought she was one of the enemy. I can never forgive him. He killed my sister. Could you?
You inevitably remember the loss of Lot Yonan, Frala, and her children. You remain sitting in silence, each of you deep in thought. Boendal approaches, having either heard you or guessing what you were talking about.
His fierce life forge is a curse. He thought the orcs had robbed him of his love, and the ire came over him. Sometimes he calls her name in his dreams. Oh, he'd never admit it, but he suffers just like Bavragor. He too loved her.
The stonemason doesn't react, so you and Boendal go back to the others by the fire. A two-story tavern sits on the corner of a crossroads. The snow around the building has been cleared away, and a warm light is coming from inside. The sign above the door reads, Minstrel Castle.
Minstrel Castle? That sounds promising.
Finally! Time for ale! My throat is completely parched.
As much as I hate agreeing with you, I too can hardly wait.
You enter the tavern with Bavragor and Boindil in front. On first impression, the interior is as inconspicuous as the outside. But when you take a closer look, you spot a couple of paintings of minstrels in front of a castle, a small stage that, judging by the dust, is only very rarely used, and a lute hanging on the wall behind the bar. There are not very many guests on the ground floor, perhaps a dozen, and most of them belong to a group of mercenaries who have retreated into the far corner. You sit at a table, and after a while you are brought the ale that Boindil has ordered. You go to the bar where the landlady is working and sit on a stool. The landlady, a stout, middle-aged woman with long hair tied in a ponytail, looks up briefly but says nothing.
Say, why is the tavern called Minstrel Castle? It doesn't look much like a castle.
Oh, you don't know the legend, dwarf.
One of the guests next to you at the bar takes up your question.
There was a castle here once. No one knows its name anymore, so everyone just calls it Minstrel Castle. Once upon a time a king lived in that castle. He had many subjects and an enchanting queen. But one day a young minstrel came along and sang of wonderful far-off lands, and the subjects began to complain about their own lives. So the king sent for the singer to hear for himself. He came and sang a wonderful love song, and the king began to be scared. He thought that the minstrel wanted to steal away his queen. Without flinching, he drew his sword and struck the boy down. His father heard of this. He was himself a singer, and so he went to the king and played a terrible song, a curse. The king was to vanish in silence, and no one was to remember his name.
And that's what happened. No one remembers the name of the king or his castle. Make of it what you will. The story's certainly well known enough in the area to give Arin its name.
You nod at the landlady as you slip off the bar stool, and she nods back. Bavragor and Boindil, who are absorbed in a drinking competition, have to be practically dragged out of the tavern. But in the end, you are able to continue your journey. You arrive at an empty jetty on Lake Anteria. You can see several fishing boats on the lake, and there's a small village on the other shore.
Ah, Pulbrook. What an idyllic little place. And then there's the miller's daughter.
Hey there! Would you be able to ferry us over to the other side?
At first, you think the fisherman hasn't heard you, but then he turns around and heads towards the shore. When the boat has almost reached you, the fisherman calls back.
Dwarves, are you lost? Oh well, whatever. I am Samuel. If you wish to cross, it'll cost you. Food for 10 days or 20 gold, whichever you prefer.
You give Samuel the gold, and after a long discussion with the dwarves in the group, you follow him onto the boat. The dwarves literally leap out of the boat as soon as you reach dry land.
We could have died! I hope it was worthwhile, Scholar!
You can make out a cave in the bank of a dried-out riverbed, with several small fires burning in it. You don't see any guards, so you approach carefully. Men and women jump as they notice you. There is terror written in their emaciated faces. When a little girl screams and runs away from you, the whole camp is alerted, and a group of men and women step out of the cave.
Is that them? Your benefactors?
Tavia, who came out of the cave next to the man, nods.
You've led them straight here.
Who are you?
The man resembles Tavia. His face too tells of a struggle between defiant determination and fatigue and resignation.
I am Gerald, Tavia's brother. I led these people here from Tabayin.
You look around you. You guess there are about 10 families, less than 50 people. Half of them are children and youths.
Your sister couldn't have known that she was being followed. Nomura has quite a talent for not being seen.
She shouldn't even have gone to Seaton in the first place. I knew that nothing good would come of it.
Tavia went to Seaton on her own initiative.
Our gold was gone and our supplies were dwindling, despite being on half rations. I said we should just take what we need if no one is going to help us, but my sister wouldn't have anything to do with it. She took the wedding jewellery from our village, the most valuable thing we had with us, and sold it without my knowing. She then took this money and went to Seaton with several men. I was completely beside myself when I heard about it, but then they came back with food and grain and I thought they had really done it.
He laughs cheerlessly and shakes his head.
For a few minutes we thought we were saved.
What's wrong with the grain from Seaton?
We thought we finally had a change of luck for the better. We were praying for a new start, but then we discovered that most of the grain was rotten and unusable. They'd been ripped off by the bloody steward. We all got together and discussed what was to be done. The majority was in favour of going to Seaton and taking what was due, at any price. The next morning, Tavia disappeared. It was clear to me that she had returned to Seaton. We were going to give her a couple of days, and in the meantime, we prepared for our attack. We needed weapons, and we needed a plan.
Tabayin is a fertile country in the north, but much more importantly these days, it borders the Perish land to the east.
How are things in Tabayin?
Gerald's expression changes. It's as if he's looking through you.
The Perish land is raging. It poisons the spirit, and those who become possessed by it just...
Gerald looks at his hands, which he involuntarily forms into claws.
They no longer recognize you. Brothers, mothers, children. My brother-in-law. I had to...
With visible effort, he wrenches himself free of his terrible memories.
We can only hope that the Magi manage to build a new barrier soon.
You cannot bring yourself to quash the last hope he has.
The supplies and the grain, where are they?
Gerald glances at your companions.
The grain is mainly useless. There's only 4 or 5 usable sacks. We shared out the supplies and that'll keep us going for the next few weeks.
You're in greater need of the grain and the supplies than the people in Seaton. Keep both.
Gerald stares at you. Only after a few seconds does he finally close his mouth.
Thank you very much, sir. When I saw you turn up here heavily armed, I thought the game was up.
How could we ever justify letting people on the run die if we have enough to share ourselves?
You see tired but happy faces all around you. The people breathe a collective sigh of relief.
Know this, good dwarf. Whenever you need help, we'll come. We'll stand by your side. We don't have much to offer you, but we can muster together a few strong arms for battle, and we have some outstanding archers.
You nod and are happy to have made some new friends.
So long, my friend.
The size of the fields and the farmsteads grow as you get closer to Ferenciensis, the old border city in the north. The old city wall is much too small for the size of today's settlement. Everywhere little cottages, and even the odd magnificent estate, extend beyond the wall.
The house that Henson was talking about must be somewhere on the south wall. We need the bell if we're going to open the path through the mountains.
You follow the street to an estate on the south wall, which is surrounded by a fence. The paved path to the door is lined with hydrangea. You knock on the door gently, and after a while it is opened by a chubby man in expensive clothes. The man gives you a fleeting glance.
We don't want to buy anything.
He intends to close the door again without waiting for your answer. You put your foot in the crack of the door.
Wait, you have a rare bell in there, Fire Eater, am I right?
The man pauses.
Fire Eater? How?
Before he can finish what he's saying, a red-haired woman pushes past him. She is also wearing expensive clothes and is heavily made up. After she gives him a stern look, the man disappears into the house. She scrutinizes you with greenish-blue eyes.
How do you know about that, Shorty?
A man called Henson.
Henson? The vagabond that broke into our house? Now he's sending groundlings to assassinate us and steal our belongings. What did he tell you? That we have gold, jewels?
No. Henson is our adversary. We want to snatch the bell away from under his nose.
The woman's eyes pierce through you. You manage with great effort to resist her gaze.
I'd like to get that ugly thing out of the house. All right then. I'll sell you the bell for 500 gold pieces.
500 gold coins. All right then.
The woman takes the pouch of gold from you with a broad grin and disappears through the door, which slams shut with a loud bang.
Hello?
Have you been duped? It dawns on you that you haven't yet seen the bell. The door opens again. The man of the house pushes out a wheelbarrow containing a large object inside a sack.
May Fire Eater bring you great pleasure.
The man dumps the bell on the floor with a muffled bong. He seems anything but happy that his wife has sold the bell. The old ruins of Wackenstein appear before you.
A bracket on which you can hang something. Must be for the bell that Henson mentioned.
Fits like a glove.
From far off, you can already see the orc camp, blocking the path to the firstlings. You move away from the path and observe the camp from a nearby cliff. You see strong fortifications and hundreds of orcs.
Finally! Now that's what I call a challenge. Let's go!
Frontal attacks may have worked in the past, but this here is more like capturing a stronghold. It requires a large military force or a good strategy. Both would be best. We should search for another way.
I could go and take a look and perhaps improve our chances for an attack.
You remember how the actor had transformed himself into Lot Yonin and Nudin in Mifidania. You certainly wouldn't bet against him being able to walk through the orc camp unnoticed.
I'll come with you. If I stay in the shadows, they won't see me.
The actor nods gratefully.
I'll come too. I also know how to keep myself hidden.
Nomura wants to object, but you are quicker.
Thank you, Geralda. 2 more eyes and ears would be helpful on such a mission.
The all too familiar stench of tallow and grease reaches your nose. You know what this means.
Huh?
Of course!
On my way!
Vile creature! And again! Kill! And again! Killed! And again! What is it? Don't take it personally. Vile creature! Come here, you! Kill! Vile creature! Ow! Another one bites the dust! And again! Of course! I'm not that quick! Yes, yes! Vile creature!
Huh? On my way! As good as done! Yes! On my way!
Huh? Yeah? Of course! Ha ha! And again! Killed! Hold your horses, alright? And again! And what now? Killed! Huzzah! And again! Of course! Come here, you! Yes, yes! Yes, yes! What is it?
Yes? At once. On my way.
Yeah, why not?
Too easy!
Let's go!
Huh?
All right, killed! And again! Vile creature!
Yes! Ha ha!
And again!
On my way!
Killed!
Understood.
Yeah! End it! What's up? He hardly put up a fight! Ha ha! I'm with you!
Yes, yes! What is it?
All right! Huh? At once. Pavrakas!
Yeah!
Understood.
Yeah!
At once.
What's up?
I didn't hit you very hard!
Taste my hammer!
Who's next?
What the hell were those things?
Goimgar carefully pokes one of the dead little creatures with his sword, as if he fears it'll jump up and attack him.
Have you never defended your past, Simmerbeard? Those are Bognalim. Small, ugly, stinking, cowardly. Sound like anyone you know?
Goimgar looks angrily at Boindil and is going to reply, but Namora speaks first.
They are like little orcs. They are even more primitive and make up for their physical weakness through their sheer numbers. They live in caves all around here.
While the others talk about Bognalim, you examine a decorated ox skull that the orcs had with them. It wasn't made by them, and somehow looks valuable. You pocket it.